Howdy YouTube, howdy everyone, and please welcome back my regular guest, Coqui Pirate.
Howdy, this is Coqui Pirate.
And you, James?
It burns. It burns. Hello there, this is James as Prof. You, James 1978, but not for much longer.
A reference there to how bad the gunfighters is. I need to gunslingers, no, gunfighters. Which obviously, this is not a loved serial in the fandom, to say the least. Even I would have said it's probably the worst Hartnell. Of course, in the classic series, it's the only time they attempt to do a Western. The thing about this for me is it's so built up how bad it is that when I'd watched it, and I've watched it twice this week, I actually didn't think it was that bad. Okay, I'll be honest. I can't hear that the accents are bad. Everyone says, I know it's British actors. I know even when it was broadcast, people wrote in saying, why are the cowboys Australian or shit like that. I think they sound like cowboys. I don't think the production values are that bad. They've got horses, which actually, horses in a studio is pretty expensive. I don't think it looks that bad. Character-wise, I like the way that Stephen and Dodo, and to some extent the Doctor, throw themselves into the cat. It's unfeasible that these three British people would convince locals that they were locals so easily. There's some suspension of disbelief, but hey, it's Doctor Who. It's Back to the Future Part 3. Its time travel show does a Western. And I think once you've clocked that, it's also hugely inaccurate. It might even be less accurate than the Romans. For one thing, I think Doc Holliday was on his deathbed by this point, for one thing. He wasn't pulling teeth. But so many movies were. And if you think about the generation watching this, the BBC bought loads of Westerns. If you were watching a movie on British TV in the 60s, chances are it was a Western, and it was fun. Yes, or on the one hand you can say, if your audience can see proper Westerns made by Hollywood, why are you trying to compete? But on the other hand, it's a time travel show with 1960s British Avatar characters, and it's fun. And actually, this isn't as bad as people say it is. And actually, I would say it's up there with, and I saw Back to the Future Part 3 as a kid in cinemas, loved it, still love it. I think it's basically that. It's let's have fun. They're not in history, they're in a Western. I actually really like, it's one of Stephen's strongest stories. I like Stephen and Dodo getting into character. The only actual objection to this that I still have is that Doctor Who can be many things. It cannot be a musical. And the device that they try to use, which me and James have been discussing recently because of a musical that I love called Blood Brothers, has musical narration. There is sung narration.
Sorry, I'm
just
just slowly peeling off my own flesh.
I think that device can work.
Sorry.
I don't think it worked for Doctor Who. Especially as it is the same melody. Although I know. As Doing Doctor Who pointed out, you would have watched this across 4 weeks. So when we watch the whole serial, we're not watching an episode. We're marathoning. Yes, all right, yes, it's the same fucking melody with different lyrics.
And the lyrics are so fucking bad by the end.
it was an experiment to have sung narration for this, but the whole thing is, it's if you just take it as a bit of fun and British people trying to make a Western. Also, it's obligatory, because all sci-fi shows eventually do a Western. British examples, or obviously everyone knows the Star Trek example, or there might be several Star Trek examples. British would be the original Prisoner, although that was a simulation, and of course Red Dwarf, although again a simulation. A Doctor Who new series had A Town Called Mercy, although that's a less stereotypical Western. They're not trying to have things like the Canton Brothers. Oh, I'm going to say, the fact that Hartnell was given a couple of weeks' rest, Hartnell's comedy delivery in this serial is spot on. Whatever, even if you think the script was rubbish, he was perfect in this serial. That's when you go, oh, yeah, okay. Hartnell nails this. And I'm going to say, I'm actually loving it. I don't think this is at all bad, and I regret giving the impression that it was. And so, Coqui, you've literally just watched this for the first time. Your opinion?
I can kind of see where you're at. I mean, not kind of. I do see where you're at. It seemed very experimental, and I guess it's. I don't know if it was filling in other tropes that were already done, but they were trying something new for Who anyway, and this probably was Hartnell less annoying than he has been in other episodes. I do think his acting was a little better. I found the premise, the misunderstandings, to be incredibly contrived. It just... And I thought, he had the candy. Didn't he collapse in the last serial?
No, he just turned away from the camera going, oh, as grabbing his face as if, oh, my teeth.
Okay, because I thought it was much more serious than that, but then he's like,
They tricked you into thinking he'd been poisoned, but no, it's just a toothache.
Yeah, he had some alien candy, and so it's just a toothache. And everyone's like, oh, yay, go to this primitive dentist. It's not like we have any way to get you better medical care. But, okay, this is just nitpicking. The musical thing, it seemed kind of forced. It's like, oh, we're doing a Western, let's have Western music. But
every time something happens, at least twice.
Stephen sings, I think Dodo sings as well. They have the same song for narrating you through the whole thing. Yeah, it is the worst thing about this serial.
It is. I Am the Doctor, but the original generation.
But that's incidental music.
But I'm going to say, I generally did not like this serial, but I do prefer watching it over reconstruction after reconstruction. I will say that.
Yes.
I'm actually more curious as to what the process was for James to watch it. I don't know. I like the way it was built up. I thought it would be really bad, and obviously James really, really doesn't like it. So I'm just wondering if it was sort of like a process of do they have to guilt you by threatening Ray to watch the serial? Did you watch apathetically as Tokyo 3 was being destroyed by angels? Did you have an existential crisis?
No, it was just a case of... It was very boring. It was just a case of, damn it, for the sake of professionalism and completism, I'm going to watch this. And I think it's some kind of Stockholm Syndrome. If you watch it enough, you do... I can imagine if I was to watch it enough, like Alex, you said you watched it twice this week before the podcast.
Yeah.
If you watch it enough, then your mind begins to tune out the ridiculous plot contrivances which Coqui referenced before. And you do start, the little thing of Virgil Earp coming to give the Clantons an ultimatum, to which side are you on, Steve? I'm with you. Would you like to ride out with me? Sure I would. Shotgun to the face. But I don't think that'll be possible. Good comedy moment. It's just the rest of the episode.
If something begins with I've been poisoned. Oh no, it's just toothache.
Yeah,
that's where you set the bar for your expectations.
Oh, that's the thing. That's the problem. It's everyone setting their expectations too low. It's just a bit of fun. It's just it's only a kid show. It's only a kid show. Kids like westerns. Kids like westerns. And I am quite ashamed, really, that yes, I do have to agree. I do believe that one of the reasons, looking at Stephen's tenure on Doctor Who,
yeah.
He has been given... Peter Purvis, the actor, was given the rotten luck of being in most of the worst serials of the Hartnell era. Perhaps even many of the worst in classic Doctor Who history. And yet, in spite of this, in things like Galaxy 4, Celestial Toymaker, as a character, he was still good. I know I dismissed and downplayed his role in the Celestial Toymaker, but even in this, he's a real three-dimensional character. He's not just... But at the beginning, though, when he's dressed up and he's saying, "I'm Deadeye Steve, fastest..." That was just so painful. And you don't hear that the accents break. There was this hilarious little scene in the 4th episode where Johnny Ringo's accent disappeared for the last half of the sentence. So he was talking all American and all right, Duck. Seriously, people who hate The Crying Game because of Forrest Whitaker's accent will be chewing their own faces off if they watch this.
I guess because normally for me it's the other way around, because my whole life we've imported so much American stuff. And even, not that long ago, From Hell, for example. Actually, seriously, anything where Johnny Depp has a voice coach for From Hell, from Pirates of the Caribbean, although why is the pirate a Cockney anyway? And you're just meant to go along with it. You just kind of run with it. If Americans think if you say, "All right, mate," then you automatically sound British. So, to be honest, the idea that these are just... It's just...
Even leaving aside the accents, though, the acting was just so terrible in this. So grotesquely over the top. The only comparison I can draw is with, excuse me, with the American actors in the Kim Ki-duk film Address Unknown. I don't know if he deliberately cast Americans who couldn't act to save their lives, casting real American soldiers in the film. The film is centered around the life of Koreans who live near an American army base. So maybe he just cast ordinary American soldiers. But either way, the point is that the Americans in that film cannot act to save their lives. The acting is so over the top, so cheesy, so theatrical. Even if they all had strong Lancashire accents, duck, and I'm going to fill you full of holes, lad. And it still would have been just so ridiculous. It's just, and as I say, how much skin do I have left to slowly peel off with my own fingernails?
I can see what you mean. And you know what? I mentioned, before we were recording, I mentioned Carry On films.
Yeah. That is a very good comparison. So grotesquely over the top. So flamboyant. So extravagant. Anyone who hasn't just switched their mind to dumb comedy is chewing off their own limbs halfway through.
And I think that an important thing to remember, actually, I was giving examples of doing a Western. And of course, Carry On fans, I think, generally rank Carry On Cowboy as the worst. I haven't seen Carry On Cowboy.
I've never even heard of it.
There is Carry On Cowboy, which as far as I'm aware, does have Sidney James and Kenneth Williams trying to be cowboys. Yes, it probably is painful to watch. Having said that, in all honesty, if you take away the singing, was this really worse than the Romans?
No, that is an academic question for the ages.
Right.
Even with the singing, I think the Romans was pretty bad.
Oh, again, but that's the thing, is it worse?
Yeah. The Romans is guilty of rape culture, but I don't think the term rape culture existed at the time.
Was the main, leaving us. Okay, allow. Well, is it possible? Really? Allow. Let's. The two main complaints about the Romans and the gunfighters are the Carry-On-esque rape scene where Nero is chasing Barbara, and the singing narration. So put those to the side for a minute. The grotesque thing about the Romans is its pseudo-Christian propaganda. The myths and the lies which still pervade people's understanding of Nero and the Roman Empire to this very day. The idea that Nero was the one who burned Rome, etc., etc. That is counterbalanced by the grotesque, inaccurate. That is counterbalanced, methinks, by the grotesque inaccuracies of this portrayal of the gunfight at the OK Corral. But there's one point which Coqui usually brings up, but hasn't done this week. Oh yes, we can never rewrite history, not one line, except when we're actively taking part to try and stop Wyatt and Virgil Earp shooting down the Clantons, which is a historical fact. So in both there were contrivances, but the subplots in the Romans with Ian and Barbara and the assassin. Oh God, the Doctor doing the Emperor's New Clothes bit with his lyre. Oh, this music is so soft and delicate that only a genius can hear it. Yeah, that was all painful. There were the subplots in the Romans, them both being sold into slavery, etc. There was enough there to keep me from ripping my own skin off, literally. But with the gunfighters, it was just one unbelievably contrived, unbelievably stupid, unbelievably overly and irritatingly acted pile of dog tripe. As you say, if you want to watch a Western in the 1960s, why don't you turn over to ITV, assuming this has existed by this point? Well,
yeah, there were two channels, BBC.
Oh no.
What we now call BBC One would just have been BBC, ITV, commercials. Well, of course, Coronation Street was on ITV. So yes, you could just turn over and watch a real Western.
Yeah. So
new question for James: what if the Romans have that musical narration?
Well, what would Roman music be? Well, the lyre, I suppose.
Yeah, that's the point. The only reason they crowbarred it into the gunfighters is because they heard it in a couple of Westerns and thought, yes, that's what we need to make it more Western.
I know, and they say piano. What is this? Piano?
I don't know, like, how historically accurate that whole sort of hyper-Christian thing that they always bring up God in the thing for the Western thing. Do you think it's more of a case of them accurately portraying American social attitudes at the time, or is it just sort of a British perception of Americans?
Again, it's the perception that was taken from Westerns, 40s and 50s Westerns.
Yeah, the thing about Americans is they worship God.
Yeah.
Whoever God is. I'm sorry, that sounds like I'm knocking Americans. But I just still think of the gun-toting kind of. Well, mind you, though, if you're living in a dangerous place and there's a low life expectancy and you're all shooting each other dead, you're gonna believe in a
God.
In God. Although, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that kind of mentality. When I watch this kind of thing, if I watch a Western, my mindset is much the same as the mafia, to be honest. That these are people who seem to be religious, but they're perfectly okay with killing each other, which I guess, yeah, is a perception. But I suppose, yeah, it's what Hollywood sells to the world. So of course I think that.
Yeah. Oh, well, you've already answered it by developing Stockholm Syndrome and apparently deciding that it's not that bad, bearing in mind that you like things like Time Heist and Deep Breath. But yes, the question I was going to ask originally, Alex, would you rather watch the Gunfighters again or read my short story Forgiveness, available now as part of my pain?
Ooh, the first plug in the history of
the way that it was set up, too. I mean, that just makes it seem really bad.
No, but seriously, the plug thing was a joke.
I know, but there's a difference between thinking something is traumatizing or potentially triggering, or thinking something is painfully. And actually, to be honest, my recollection of the Gunfighters, taking us back to topic, from over a decade ago, I thought Dodo was really painfully embarrassing as a character. And to be honest, I didn't think she was this time around.
As I say, you're portraying the symptoms of Stockholm Syndrome.
Her shouting, "I think you're smashing," out of nowhere, for example, it's like, stop giving Dodo lines for the sake of having a Dodo line.
Yes. What's the term? Not portraying. Displaying. Thank you. You are displaying symptoms of Stockholm Syndrome, but yes, with that Dodo remark, you are coming back to reality.
Hey, actually, it just occurred to me, Dodo for a brief time did have something of a parallel plot, being held hostage while there was a whole doctor.
That was just Dodo being kept out of the way while Stephen and the doctor did what needed to be done.
Okay, but I mean, as far as stories go, with Dodo, granted, I don't think we've seen very many at this point, but yeah, she did have
the best
thing.
The best thing about Dodo's role in this serial was her absence. Right, we're going to tie you up and gag you in this barn for the rest of the episode. Why? In case I warn Stephen? No, just to shut you up.
Oh, I've had enough Dodo bashing. I think Dodo is very unfairly thought of in history of Doctor Who. I think Jackie Lane got a bad deal.
Oh, that's the thing. Nothing against the actress, but it's the Clara argument again. It doesn't matter how good the actress is. It doesn't matter where the blame goes. The point is that the character is a train wreck in different ways. Clara and Dodo. Clara just suffers from that strange lack of personality or identity, and Dodo is just it is just some kind of weird experiment to create a stereotypical cliched swinging 60s chick gone horribly awry. But either way, though, it doesn't change the fact that hearing Dodo speak, as you pointed out before, stop giving her lines.
I'm going to rein us in a little bit. Some people, when they critique this, they talk about how this story has been done better. Now, I've never seen the movie Tombstone, which I gather is a really good film. If you want to see a film about the gunfight at the OK Corral, see the movie Tombstone. Doctor Who at this point was more or less ripping off films that were themselves not accurate. But from what I know, Tombstone isn't accurate either, because it essentially portrays Doc Holliday as some kind of sort of ladies' man, which he may have been at some point. But the point is, he's got consumption. TB, tuberculosis. The term at the time would have been consumption, I think. So he's not practicing dentistry because you can't, because you're coughing all the time, and if you're coughing all the time, you can't be a dentist for obvious reasons. You're not really doing anything in those days. I mean, and so you have essentially a story built on myth. But do you make a good? I mean, you could make a very accurate historical film that you would like, or do you build on the myth, where the fact that it is myth or legend, essentially, that you are buying into a lot of. I mean, I've barely touched, I think, upon the inaccuracies of this. It might as well be Robot of Sherwood in terms of its sort of like, yes, if you can have this, you can treat Robin Hood as an actual historical character. But if you consider that Doctor Who is varied, you have something as serious as the massacre, then you have something as daring in science fiction terms as the Ark, In fact, episode 1 of this serial is called A Holiday for the Doctor. Yes, I think this is it's what Americans would call the vacation. This is the fun story. They're on holiday, and I'll give it a free pass.
But still, oh god, yeah. First there was Galaxy 4, and okay, we managed to survive that. And then, after the heights of the Dalek master plan and the Mythmakers, there was the Celestial Toymaker. But we were beginning to get over this bad patch. There was light at the end of the tunnel.
Oh wow! My mind completely skipped the Celestial Toymaker. Wow, I literally skipped that mentally. That makes it the Moffat equivalent would be the Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe.
Yeah.
The only episode that I literally forgot it existed. And yes, which is the most damning thing. That's worse than if you hate something. It's, oh, what? Oh yeah, he did do that. Yeah, I seriously, wow. I just went through the recent episode, and my mind literally just skipped over Celestial Toymaker.
Just going to show, first of all, how not necessarily bad, but happy place, for lack of a better term, to use that as an adjective, that serial actually was. But no, we have had 2 quote-unquote fun children's serials back to back. Okay, we can forgive it because we can make the excuse, should I say, that in these days they had to record what was ready to be recorded. Either the set was ready or it wasn't. There was no 3-month-long break or however long between series. Yeah. But yes, having 2 serials that I strongly dislike for different reasons back to back.
Okay.
Is still. Oh, and you didn't let me finish my Monty Python quote. So if I can just happened. Yeah, I've done that.
Right. Okay. Is that the Dirty Fork sketch?
Oh yes. It's the end of the road. Yeah.
It's a good job I didn't mention the dirty knife.
But on Tish.
and end scene. Yeah, so, okay, well, I'm going to open up the floor for anything else somebody might want to say on the subject of the gunfighters.
Oh, I don't think you answered my question, Alex. You did say it's a difference between being... when I asked, would you rather read my short story Forgiveness Again or watch the Gunfighters, you said, well, it's the difference between being traumatized and just watching something that is just so painful.
Well, yes, this is the thing, which is, would I rather sit in a nest of barbed wire or eat glass? I mean, they're different things.
Yeah. Would you rather spend a night watching what's the name of the actress, Bonnie Langford, doing Mel-esque thigh-slapping pantomime?
Obviously, no one is suggesting that the Gunfighters has artistic merit.
Artistic or literary merit of any kind.
Different things. And obviously they're different kinds of... However, I do recommend you James's work, and I am his proofreader and, to some extent, consultant.
Yeah.
So
yes,
there you go.
I was joking, obviously, but if you'd like to check it out, then that would be very kind of you. Thank you very much.
And okay, I tell you, I'm going to put a new spin on this. Coqui Pirate, what did you think was the worst thing about the Gunfighters?
Except for the music, which we've already discussed at length.
I guess just the whole, like, all of the misunderstandings, like, are you the doc? Are you Doc? Is like, Doctor. Doctor's like, Holiday? Is like, I suppose I am. It's like, seriously? That's going to be what starts all of this? I don't know. The whole misunderstandings were just suspension of disbelief gone. Not that it's particularly easy with classic Who. But
I suppose I think misunderstandings work for tragedy. I think they work in Shakespeare. I think they work for Lake Seven, which I know Coqui hasn't seen. James knows I'm referencing the final episode. I think they work for some of Doctor Who, but if it's tragedian misunderstanding, but I suppose that's the thing. They say that comedy is tragedy plus time, and some of the tragedies I like, actually, yeah, if you sped them up, they'd be funny. This treads an odd line, of course, because Doctor Who so far has done actual history, it's done mythology, it's treated history as a joke, it's treated mythology as a joke. When you're in this kind of category, it's sort of like, well, real people did die at the gunfight at the OK Corral. It's a documented historical fact. People did die. Okay, it's 100 years ago or so. So what, too soon? And you tread a balance, because Westerns are fun, but human life was lost. And I guess you kind of got to have a bit of distance, I suppose, with something like that.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it was experimental. If so, then I'd give them points for trying. If it really is, like, super cliched and absolutely everything they did was being done all over British television and American television, then this is absolute crap that I saw. But
well, it's experimental for Doctor Who, but the point would be not that it's all over British television. It's the movies that they were buying. So it's Doctor Who goes to the movies is the point. It's put the time travelers, our avatars, into that movie genre which was popular. So it's sort of cliched, because if you were a 60s kid, yeah, it's westerns. Well, not westerns 24/7, because I think television was broadcast from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. at the time, but where there was TV, and I mean they had to buy them up. But there would be big popular westerns from about 5 years earlier. It would be pow 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 pow. If you were a British kid, if you weren't playing Daleks, you were playing cowboys. Well, actually, you'd be possibly be playing cowboys and Indians, but we don't want to go into cowboys and Indians territory because that's racist, and thank God 1960s Doctor Who didn't try and do anything like that. It's where it's cliched, it's deliberately cliched, and the humour is purposeful. Next week we will be looking at the Savages, I believe, which actually, out of the three of us, only James has seen that. I know about the Savages. I've not. Well, it's a recon. Sorry, Coqui, it's a recon.
Oh, goodies.
From what I know of the Savages, it's pretty good. I mean, I like the sort of ideas, I like the premise. So, with any luck, touch wood, we'll enjoy discussing it.
Can I just... you forgot to ask me what I thought was the worst part, aside from the music.
Sorry, Jim.
Sorry, just something I've wanted to talk about for a while. Referring to the suspension of disbelief, the actual gunfight in episode 4, Virgil and Wyatt walking oh so slowly and methodically and intimidatingly towards the Clantons. The Clantons draw their guns and start opening fire. All of them are firing, and Wyatt and Virgil are still walking at the same pace. Only when the Clantons have fired about 27 bullets each from their 6-shooters do they actually draw their guns and dive for cover.
It was 29 each, but... yes, well, look, Doctor Who from this era is going to have editing issues. It's going to have all sorts of... I think that's the least of things, because
just to show, in case you thought this had any integrity of any kind.
But no, you still see that on TV now, that people start reacting to being hit before they're hit. That... You know, and that's all post-production shit. No, I mean, you can give a free pass to some of this stuff. But, in any case, on the subject of the Savages, that, I think, will be interesting, because it will be, yet again, the perspective of, I've never seen it before. I'm going to guess that you, James, really likes it.
Oh, yes. Thumbs up in space.
You do? Right, okay.
Not as good as Dalek Master Plan or the Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve, in my humble opinion, but still, after 2... basically children's hour episodes, quote-unquote bits of fun back to back, it is a serious return to form.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Actually, I'm appreciating seeing later Hartnell as a fan. So it's sort of like, okay, so some of the later Hartnells are good. I'm more early Hartnell. I think Coqui, okay, it's 4 episodes, it's recons, I've not seen / heard it either, but from what I know of it, it's a treat. From what I know of it, it's pretty good. And don't worry, because the following week we do have a complete story. So yes, there's a recon, and I'm going to vouch for the season finale, which does exist in full, and hopefully we'll all enjoy the Savages.
Yeah, sorry, can I just say, message to BBC archivists sent back in time with a petrol bomb. You kept the gunfighters, but you couldn't keep the Daleks' master plan.
I know.
They could take care of this, too. They clearly had a TARDIS on set.
Exactly.
Badumtish. Oh, but still, it is the most intriguing premise for a serial, though, isn't it? Discussing the end when they're back in the TARDIS, the preview of the next episode. Where are we then, past, present, or future? In the far, far future, at a time of unbridled technological achievement, peace, and prosperity. to which, as they walk out, the camera turns to the scanner and shows a savage, in inverted commas, wearing animal skins and carrying a spear.
Yeah. It's,
Ooh, the paradox, the contradiction in terms. What will the Doctor find? Oh, I just love this serial so much.
This is what put me off later Hartnells and Recons, because you're promised these things. Like, oh, I can't watch the Savages, and I know the people who do the Recons. I love them to bits and everything. But
no, this is... I promise you, Alex, this isn't like you think the Doctor's been poisoned, but no, he's just broken his tooth.
Oh.
Okay, so we're in the words of Dave Lister, we're going to get through this.
Yes, you will survive.
Surviving for Recon episodes. So, final thoughts and goodbyes.
My final thoughts are, if you have a machine and have access to any point in history, anywhere in the universe, and your dentist decides to take a swig before operating on your mouth... Yeah, I forgot what I was going to say to finish that. But may the hamster of prosperity and dental hygiene be upon you all.
Amen. And you, James?
I've survived with some of my skin intact. I managed to get through it, and now the only thing that disheartens me is that Alex in particular is nervous about the Savages because he's been burned so much in the past. Damn you, BBC! But no, I am really looking forward to next week, especially after enduring the horror. Maybe the Savages isn't all that great. It's just it's all relative, you see. But no, I do think that it is a real return to form. As I say, I'm looking forward to discussing it next week, and until then, may the great holy donkey bless your house for 7 generations.
I'm just glad, amen, and I'm just glad that I called it, because so often I make these predictions, but I did know the Savages would be something that you liked. Yeah. So an almost blind prediction, and next week will be a blind episode, apart from you, James. So, and because we're staying true to the format of the show, this is the final time we will be doing the dum-da-dum. So, I'm going to get this absolutely right.
Wait, is that the official name of this skit we do at the end? It is.
Yes,
we do dum-da-dum. Okay.
Well, for me, it's the dum-da-dum-da-dum-da-dum. For you, it's the whoa.
that was surprisingly good, James. Well done. I didn't think you could sing in that register. But I could kick you in the balls. But in any case, very curious though, because of the way that the next serial is referred to in the credits. It's quite strange. Next episode, Doctor Who and the Savages.